Hello everyone, and welcome to the 87th episode of Analyzing Evil, featuring the Domas family from Ready or Not. As hilarious as this film is, the overall concept is quite sinister, and to find yourself in the clutches of an absurdly wealthy family deeply ingrained in a demonic cult is a terrifying prospect. And the Domas family is a bizarre combination of excess and villainy, a family that's indoctrinated its members into a life of affluential evil. In this video, we're going to discuss how the Domas family came to be such a malicious and powerful force, and how the wealth they gained from the deadly pact their progenitor made with a mysterious entity and its implications have warped them into the dysfunctional mess we see in this film. This video has actually been frequently requested by a longtime subscriber and friend of mine, Walter King, a man who is currently engaged in a battle with cancer. There's not much I can do besides spread the word, and I wish I could help everyone out there who is currently struggling with an illness or otherwise, but unfortunately, I can only do so much. I know times are tough, but if any of you can spare anything to donate to him on his Give Send Go page, Walter and his family would greatly appreciate it, and I'll be doing my part by donating a portion of this video's revenue to Walter. If you can't donate, you can help out in another way by sharing this video with your friends and family, as every cent earned here with your views is another that I can give to him. And if you prefer to show your support personally, feel free to speak to him on our Discord server, as he's quite active there. Thank you everyone for taking the time to listen to this, and thank you to anyone who decides to donate. Speaking of donating revenue, before we get started with this video, let's first talk about this video's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is perhaps the greatest online resource out there for learning new skills and improving on existing ones. They have thousands of classes to choose from in a variety of different categories, like film and video, animation, and creative writing to name a few, and they're constantly updating their catalog with new and exciting lessons from a number of different teachers. One class in particular that I enjoyed that will help anyone looking to hone their green thumb was indoor gardening. Grow houseplants, veggies, and herbs with Ekta Chaudhary. Growing plants can seem like a daunting task, but Ekta breaks the process down quite well, and with her help, you'll be filling your home with beautiful decor and fresh ingredients in no time. But this is only one of the thousands of lessons available to you on Skillshare, and if you're interested in developing a new hobby or improving on an existing one, you can do so by clicking the link down in the description. The first 1,000 people to click that link will get access to 1 month of all that Skillshare has to offer, completely free. Whether you're a novice or a pro, if you're looking to expand and improve upon your own creativity, Skillshare is definitely the place to do so, and I can't emphasize enough how valuable their classes are. So don't wait, sign up for your free month of Skillshare by clicking the link down below while you can, and start expanding your own creative knowledge today. Thank you Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now without further ado, let's begin. The Domas gaming empire traces its roots back to the Civil War, when Victor Domas started a modest printing shop with the intent of manufacturing playing cards. Over the next few generations, Domas family games would expand into board games and sporting goods, and by the current era, the family had become so fabulously wealthy from their endeavors that they were even able to purchase 4 professional sports teams to further increase their wealth. Now originally, Victor Domas was a merchant seaman, and on one of his many excursions abroad, he met a man named Mr. LaBelle, a collector who purchased exotic antiquities to sell to wealthy Americans. After discovering their mutual passion for games of chance, they passed a great many hours playing such games, finally coming to the moment where Mr. LaBelle unveiled one of his most devious possessions, this dreaded box, a puzzle that Mr. LaBelle challenged Victor to solve before they reached their destination, and if he could solve it, Mr. LaBelle would reward him by financing any endeavor of his choosing, which ended up being the printing company I mentioned earlier. Now, any of you astute demonologists out there might have figured out who Mr. LaBelle is fairly soon after hearing his name, but for those who didn't, LaBelle is actually an anagram for Belial, a name which in the Old Testament was used to denote wickedness in others. But within the New Testament, Belial is used only once in 2 Corinthians 6:15, and there, this name is used as one of the many alternate names for Satan. However, there are other ways in which the name Belial has been used since the New Testament was written, and he's been classified as a demonic entity completely separate from Satan in many occult writings. So Mr. LaBelle is either Satan himself or a demon known as Belial. But regardless of whether or not he's the fallen angel himself, or just one of his demons, Victor Domas made a pact with an evil entity that brought him and his family great fame and fortune, and the only price to be paid for this incredible boon was that any person who wished to join the Domas family through marriage needed to engage in a game with the family chosen by Mr. LaBelle via a blank card being inserted into the box he gave to Victor. Sounds like a pretty good deal, right? Well, it is, until you take into account the chance that an unfortunate inductee into the Domas family can draw a game of hide-and-seek, which, as we can see in this film, is quite the deadly occurrence. Now, for those of you who haven't seen this film, when the initiate draws the hide-and-seek card, the existing members of the Domas family are bound to hunt them down before dawn and kill them in an elaborate satanic ritual, lest their entire family succumb to the curse of Mr. LaBelle and perish if they do not complete this diabolical task. I'm sure Victor was well aware of the ramifications of the deal he entered, and the fact that the members of his family have been willing to engage in these barbaric practices for generations is a testament to the evil that permeates their entire family, as who knows how many people have been forced to suffer the consequences of loving a Domas. That's readily apparent in the film, but what's interesting to examine here is the effect that it's had on each current member of the Domas family, as well as how their extravagant wealth has molded their personalities. In the beginning of the film, we're given a brief look into the last time that the Domas family engaged in a game of hide-and-seek, that being when Aunt Helene's husband, Charles, drew the hide-and-seek card and was subsequently killed as a result. And this occurrence dramatically affected the mental health of at least 3 of the family members we see in this film: Daniel, Alex, and Helene. Daniel and Alex were both children when this last game happened, and though Daniel managed to shield Alex from the horrors of that game by hiding him in a cabinet, Daniel unfortunately partook in the game by giving away Charles' location to the rest of his family. Though Daniel was told by his mother that she was proud of him in this moment, it clearly had an impact on him when you consider that the exchange he has with Charles when he's imploring him to help him is repeated once again when he has nearly the same encounter with Grace in the current game. And in this instance, Daniel actually chooses to help Grace rather than alert his family to her position. And we can assume that part of the reason why Daniel is an alcoholic is because of the experiences he had while growing up with his severely twisted family. However, there's something else to take into account here, and that's wealth. It might be a stereotype, but Daniel being raised in an environment of extreme wealth was likely the cause of his alcohol addiction, just as much as his traumatic experiences were, as when you have unlimited money and time, some individuals tend to get themselves in a bit of trouble. And Daniel isn't alone here, as his sister Emily is a reckless and eccentric drug addict, and her husband is a painfully self-centered and arrogant man who fits that bill perfectly as well. Alex, on the other hand, by virtue of his brother's care for him, seems to have been shielded from much of the havoc that their family has wrought upon his siblings, as rather than succumbing to the pressures of Domas family life, Alex tried his best to distance himself from his family, though choosing to bring a woman into his family through marriage, rather than alerting her to the fallacies of his family, and perhaps eloping with her, or keeping their relationship on a boyfriend-girlfriend level, is a sign that Alex wasn't completely willing to shed his family's ways. The last member of the Domas family, who was deeply affected by that particular game of hide-and-seek, Helene, was perhaps the hardest hit of the 3, as prior to the ritualistic murder of her husband, from the brief glimpse we're given of her, she seems to have been a rather well-adjusted member of the family, as she's obviously distraught over having to murder her husband. But whatever negative feelings she has about her family's barbaric practices are put to the wayside once she resolves herself to assist with the ritual. Fast forward 30 years, and we find a woman who's stern and dramatic, one that shows little to no emotion outside of her intense stone-faced devotion to everything Domas. And considering that she now believes that it was the right thing to do, and that she should have killed Charles herself, she's definitely a deeply damaged woman who has all but embraced her role as the Domas family witch. The rest of the family have varying degrees of issues themselves, but those seem to mostly be derived from their wealth rather than any traumatic Domas experiences, like Tony's assertion that they need to find and kill Grace, not only because they'll all die if they don't, but because he has a tea time at 8, or Charity's willingness to do whatever it takes to remain a Domas because she refuses to go back to a normal life. And even though Becky seems to be a kind-hearted person who doesn't particularly enjoy what goes on in her house, she's still willing to comply with the devious demands of Mr. LaBelle. It's telling that even the Domas family servants are involved in this cult as well, everyday people who were likely lured in by lucrative compensation in exchange for keeping the family's secrets, and a number of them even seem quite enthusiastic about selling themselves to the cult of Mr. LaBelle. The people that occupy the Domas household might have a certain amount of genial candor with one another, but they're ultimately a family caught up in the allure of excess and power that's willing to commit horrendously evil acts to ensure that they live posh and pampered lives. The Domas family might seem like they have it all, but what do you really have when the life you've built was earned through a pact with the devil? Not much, as after subjecting Grace to a grueling night filled with murderous intent and reckless violence, backed up by bumbling stupidity, the Domas family finally receives what they were always destined to receive, a gruesome death at the hands of their demonic benefactor. As no matter how long you might prosper under the watchful eye of the devil, sooner or later, he always gets his due. And at this end, what can we say about the Domas family? They're a group of individuals bound to a tradition that provides them with a life of extreme comfort, one that few of them have been willing to forsake in order to do the right thing, even if this cult life has essentially ruined their family and any future they might have had. Murdering an untold amount of people over their long history, the Domases are an interesting take on the cult dynamic, one where this family uses their dark faith as a vessel to improve their average lives. The horrific acts perpetrated by these people in this film are terrifying enough, but what's even more terrifying about them is the message that their dynamic conveys, that being that villainy doesn't always make itself known by flashing blood-soaked fangs, but by remaining hidden beneath a well-crafted and glamorous facade, one that hides an overwhelming amount of evil. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Analyzing Evil, and I hope you've enjoyed. What are your thoughts on the Domas family? Did I miss anything? Let me know down below, and leave a suggestion for a villain you'd like to see featured while you're at it. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. A big thank you to all of my subscribers, and to my patrons, and a most vile thank you to those whose names you're seeing on screen now. Join the channel's Discord server and Reddit to interact with myself and the community, and follow me on the social media platforms listed below to keep up with the channel. And of course, don't forget to check out the new merchandise that you're seeing on screen now by clicking the link down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you soon.